Every day, consumers are being bombarded with the next big thing in health, wellness, and fitness. What's the future of keeping ourselves healthy, and what's just a passing fad? Hi, I'm Joey Thurman, and if you don't know me, I'm a health and fitness expert and author. I've been fortunate enough to work with celebrities, athletes, C-suite executives, and everyone in between. I've been featured on the Today Show, Live with Kelly and Ryan, Good Morning America, TEDx, and lots of other publications. As part of my ever-increasing thirst for knowledge, which ironically happened after college, I decided to create the Fad or Future Podcast. What sets this podcast apart is that I am the guinea pig for these episodes. I don't only want to bring in world-class experts on the show. I want to truly get a first-hand experience what it's like to, say, go on ketamine and trip for my depression, go on a 3-day fast drinking nothing but coffee and water for age reversal, eat nothing but plants and get the blood work done to back it up, or even get my brain mapped to see how messed up my head is from getting knocked around playing hockey. Once I try these things, I bring on the experts to talk about my experience and explain it to the audience in a digestible manner and ask the true question. Is it a fad or is it the future? Because after all, we don't want to be fatties. Could you only eat plants? I tell you what, I did it for quite some time. I have the blood work as well. Today, my good friend Julieanna Hever, she was the co-host of my Facebook Watch series, Home Sweat Home. You can check that out, Home Sweat Home 2018. We chat about her new book, The Healthspan Solution, how we can live longer, why she says you need to eat plants, they're good for you, all sorts of things, plants, fruits, and a little bit of humor added in there because we can't forget that. Here's my conversation with Plantbased, world-famous dietitian Julieanna Hever. What's going on? It's Joey Thurman. Here's another episode of the Fad or Future Podcast. And I got a blast from the past. My good friend and world-famous plant-based dietitian, Julieanna Hever, is sitting here. She sat in a gross Uber to come here. And that's from your daughter. And I truly appreciate you coming out. I'm in LA right now. And Julieanna and I have known each other for years now. We did a Facebook show called Home Sweat Home. So that's actually still online, Home Sweat Home 2018. But Julieanna, thank you for coming here.
It's my pleasure. Anytime I get to see you, I'm in.
Oh, see, vice versa. All right, I like that. It's a love fest. We're going to put emojis all over the place and all sorts of shit. Okay, so what have you been up to?
Well, I just published a new book.
It's out now, right?
It is just out. We're so excited.
Wow, and that is called the Healthspan Solution?
Correct. It is it's a cookbook with 100+ recipes of whole foods, of soup, salads, sides, and sweets. Yeah. But the first 4 chapters is like this intensive, crazy science deep dive like you've never seen in a cookbook before. Yeah. Our publishers were really kind to let us kind of expound upon all of our ideas. Right. And we broke a lot of rules and disrupted a lot in this book. So
that's kind of the name of the game, right?
Yes.
Break the rules. And you say we. Who is your co-author?
My co-author is Raymond Cronice.
He is a smart dude.
He is the smartest person I've ever known. He's a former NASA scientist, literally a rocket scientist and genius. And he what he decided was he got sick after he ended up with diabetes and overweight and all that. So he wanted to figure out how to lose weight and cure his diabetes. And so only like he would do, he did a deep dive into he went all the way back to the beginning of research on metabolism and nutrition and diabetes, everything. Yeah. And he mastered metabolism and diabetes. He cured himself. And now he just can't stop talking about it.
I mean, I see you guys all over the place. I'll be watching documentaries and generally it's some sort of plant-based or vegan or some sort of documentary. And I'm like, oh, there's Julieanna. There's Ray. If I see Ray somewhere, Julieanna's going to be there. I mean, you're all over. I mean, how do you keep your head about you?
Oh, I don't know if I've done that, but yeah, we merged our messages about 3 years, a little over 3 years ago, and he was coming at it from a health span longevity perspective and diabetes and all this research he had done, and I was coming at obviously as a plant-based dietitian. I was the nutrition element, and we kind of put our brains together, and it's been really exciting. Like we've done this is our second book. We've done a paper. We're writing another paper with David Sinclair on diabetes. Yeah. It's like we're doing so much, and we both think so much alike, and we kind of work really well together. So it's been really exciting to have someone that I could work with like that,
Right. I literally flew to Harvard to interview David Sinclair. And afterwards, he says, I have a hard stop. It was like 11 o'clock or something. I have a phone call to get on. So I honored his time, and he's only a big deal. He's knighted and all sorts of stuff. And listened to the podcast with him that it was on. I mean, you guys can live to 120 years old, according to David. But I didn't realize afterwards he gets on the phone and it's a conference call with Ray and Julieanna, and he puts it on speaker. I'm like, Ray, if I would have known that you guys were on, I would have taken the podcast long. It would have been fun. It's just small world. You literally all are everywhere. I don't know, like the small world for it to be that you were going to be on the conference call with him afterwards.
That was good. That was funny timing, because then we were like, David was supposed to answer the phone, and it was Joey. You're like, wait, what? What?
I didn't even tell you I was going out there.
No,
that's the thing.
But you did say you were going to interview, or you wanted to interview
I wanted
him,
to,
but I didn't know you were.
Yeah, no, it was. I had Jamie Menzel, who wrote Hacking Darwin, on. He was friends with him, and so he actually connected us. And I had asked you too, like, you guys got a bunch of stuff going on. So Jamie sent an email, and that's. It's just wild.
He's an amazing man. Like, did you read Lifespan?
Oh yeah. And I don't read books, but doing this podcast, I started reading books. It's crazy.
Great side effect.
I didn't realize I liked learning until after college.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You had to process that for a second.
I did.
I'm like, I basically went to college to play hockey, and among other things, I kept my grades up, and then I realized, well, I actually like learning.
Good.
Wild.
This is a great excuse to do all that. I think that's really fun. We're doing a podcast too, and it's like,
and what's that called? What's that called?
It's called Science and Saucery.
Ooh, look at that, Science and Saucery.
Yeah, because we're talking about the science and the saucery, the cooking and stuff.
I like it. So check that out, the Healthspan Solution. Available everywhere. So you say plant-based dietitian. What does that mean?
It used to mean nothing, and I kind of, so way back when I went plant-based, it was really like going vegan at the time.
Right.
And I cut out animal products, and this was after graduate school in nutrition, and I finally had, I was able to try this again, knowing the literature and being able to dig deep, because when I tried this when I was younger, everyone was scaring me, oh, you're not going to get protein, you're going to be iron deficient, all that stuff. And this was before the internet, not to date myself, but there was no Google back then. And
you look amazing, though.
Thank you.
Even if you're pre-internet.
Thank you. It's like a dinosaur. It's the plants.
Yeah.
So so I was like I couldn't research it, so I'd have to go get books and like go to the library and all that stuff. So I did. And once I finished grad school and I was able to go, oh, wait a second, you can get protein absolutely from plants, and you can get iron sourced better from plants. It was like a no-brainer. I went for it, and that it changed my health completely. And then I started implementing it. I was a personal trainer way back then, and I started implementing it with my clients once I became a dietitian. I was doing just nutrition. I stopped personal training when I had my children, but changed my clients. Like the results between like what I was experiencing doing what I was trained to teach versus what I did when I implemented plant-based nutrition was a completely different universe. Like we were literally getting, and we still to this day get people off medications that they're supposed to be on for the rest of their lives. Getting rid of diagnoses like diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or hypertension or cardiovascular disease, like taking people that were supposed to be left to be on the end of their life and rehabilitating them with diet. It was mind blowing. I never ceases to amaze and mind blow me every time I see this.
So you're saying there's nutrients and vitamins in food, and we can cure things?
Yes.
Whoa, fat or future on that one.
All of the above.
Oh, craziness. Oh, so what's the difference between vegan and plant-based?
Oh, right. Sorry. I diverse.
No, I like going down rabbit holes. We're good.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question. So I was teaching this, and I was talking about it wherever I could, and then I was asked. This was such a blessing. Like I had this fortuitous event where an agent found me. This was when the internet did start. And she found me online, and she asked me, would you want to write this book called The Complete Idiot's Guide to Vegan Nutrition? I'm like, yes, I've always wanted to write a book. Yeah. So I had to write a table of contents and a chapter, and it was like, okay. And I got the job. And this is when I had 2 little kids. So I was like writing at 4 a.m. And you know how it is to have a little kid. It's like, oh my gosh. So, but then in the middle of it, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk about vegan. I'm vegan, but I'm not an ethicist. I don't know, I don't want to tell people anything in that realm. I'm a dietitian. My expertise is in nutrition. So I did a whole petition on changing it to plant-based, because that term whole food plant-based had been coined by like T. Colin Campbell back then. And like that was around the time where Dr. Esselstyn was on CNN talking about reversing, Bill Clinton's heart disease. And they were using the term plant-based was just starting. Right. And I like it because it's an inclusive definition. So vegan means I do not eat animal products. Okay, period. And there's all this other stuff behind it. Right. And ideology and all that stuff behind it. plant-based means I eat whole plant foods.
Okay.
And that's the basis of my diet. So it's more of an inclusive definition. So I that's when I started calling myself plant-based dietitian before that, but then I changed the name. They let me change the name of the book, and then I've been going plant-based. But it's so interesting because now plant-based has become saturated and diluted the same way vegan had, and now that's why we're doing Healthspan Solution. We're focusing on more. We have a triangle, so we say right side triangle eating, and we're trying to change the language again because there's so much confusion, and because of macro confusion, carbs, protein, and fat, and all that stuff.
Right.
So we're just trying to evolve the discussion to something that's more helpful to people.
Okay, so I mean, the plant-based people can be like 80% plant-based, 90% plant-based, and throw in some traditional sources like animal protein and things like that, or plant-based just mean no animal products whatsoever?
Well, that's where I think it can get dilute. And I think there's a lot of interpretation you could do with it. And again, like I told you, I stopped trying to convince anyone to do anything.
Right.
I will not try to convince you to change your diet. You want to do it, I will love you and teach you and show you and walk you through it. But if I stopped because I was knocking my head against the wall for so long and it was just getting so frustrating. So I stopped that. So that said, from a scientific perspective, we don't know how much animal product you can get away with. You probably can. You probably could get away with maybe up to 5 to 10% of calories, but we don't know that.
Right.
So do you want to take that risk? That's up to you. We do know that a whole food plant-based diet is incredibly efficacious at reversing chronic diseases and preventing chronic diseases. If we add in 1 serving a week, 1 serving a month, maybe okay, probably okay. Because if you I like to look at the blue zones, which are the longest lived populations around the world. There's about 5 of them. Right. And they had the most centenarians, and they had these healthy populations. And Dan Buettner compared what they had in common in terms of lifestyle. Yeah. And one of the things that they had in common is they ate mostly plants. But the only vegan population was the only one in the United States is Loma Linda. So because they have a lot of Seventh-day Adventists.
In California.
In California, here, local to here. Yeah. And they ate most like vegan. That was the only one. But all the other ones had a little bit of animal products, like as a condiment.
Is that like the Inuit had a high amount of fish that they were eating too? Were they in the blue zone as well?
No, they are not in the blue zones. They're kind of the other extreme, actually. Okay. Yeah, because that's a very different population.
Because they just can only eat fish because that's all.
It was like they were, I don't know all the details of their story, but it's more like a high fat because of where they live, kind of a environmental type of thing. Yeah. Not the same results as the blue zones where they're living to their hundreds.
So they I mean, a lot of them too had some other things besides diet. I believe they had a lot of friendship and family. I think that they especially like my wife's Greek and what was the island in Greece?
It's
living like 100 something years old too.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, it'll come to us later.
Yeah,
but
I carry.
There you go. Yeah, so they were looking at that, and there was just like the lack of stress, and then I'm sure that there's something to do with that. But it's interesting how they do have this commonality in what they're eating.
And the one food that they have all in common, every single one of them has legumes as a staple. Yeah. Beans, lentils, peas, all that.
Okay, so let's talk about farting.
Well, we can. I'm a dietitian. We talk about that over lunch.
There we go. So a little backstory. As everyone knows, I am the guinea pig during these episodes. So when Julie and I were filming Home Sweat Home, we were basically in Manhattan and Queens and all over the place. And back then, I was eating plants, and I had tried every single diet out there to know how my clients would feel, because I like it. I don't believe there's one single thing that's good for every single person. But the one thing I never tried was plant-based, vegan, whatever you want to call it. So we're ordering from it'll say like Panera or something. She's like, "Oh, you can't eat that," or whatever. You're like trying to smack me. I'm like, "That's fine. It's vegetables. I'll throw some chicken on there." I'm like, "But I love bacon." And then I had these like meat stick things that I was going around with because I was doing no carbs, and we're filming, and I want to make sure I don't retain water. But then again, I'm having this high sodium meat stick thing. But whatever. Right? Yeah. I'll kind of say what I was doing wrong then. And you say you need to eat plants. You need to eat more plants and try to cut down your protein consumption. I'm like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. So eventually, my wife was pregnant at the time. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do this whole plant-based thing because Julieanna told me to. She's like, and I'm going to get the blood work checked. She's like, you're going to do this while I'm in my 3rd trimester. Awesome. Thanks. So I did it. And what you told me to do, and then I talked to, you referred me to some like vegan plant-based bodybuilders, and I had some conversations with them as well. And you said, I want you to eat 10 servings of green things a day. So I started doing that. It was like a cup to cup and a half of beans, legumes, and then 2 to 3 servings of fruit a day. And from there, I'm like, oh my God, I can have carbs. I was living off less than 100 grams of carbs a day.
Oh,
so by
brutal.
starting to have
Torture.
like berries and these antioxidants, like my mood started getting better. My wife's like, well, you're eating carbs. Like maybe you should keep doing this. So I was like, all right. But the first couple of weeks, I tell you what, I was texting you. I'm like, I'm ripping ass all the time. What is going on with my stomach here? And you're like, oh, it'll, and we'll get to my results in a second. It'll kind of normalize itself. But what was happening when I first started introducing just the plethora of vegetables?
Yeah, no, what happened was you were going from a very low carbohydrate diet and your body was like, whoa. And not only that, there's what happens is the microbiome. It's really interesting. Your microbiome.
I love how you're so excited about talking about microbiome.
I'm so geeky.
And farting. It's cool.
I know. I love this work. Okay, most of our cells, like it's upwards of, I think it might be 10 times the amount of cells. Now it's kind of debatable and it's kind of changed. And actually we have the number in our book. We have at least 10 times of our body. We are far percentage less human cells than we are bacteria. That's how much bacteria live in our body, so mostly in our gut.
We're just a bunch of bacteria.
We are like bacterial hosts walking around navigating the world. So yes, we're mostly bacteria. Now, if you have happy bacteria, they're going to treat you well. And there's these huge, there's so much evidence coming out about how your microbiome actually impacts your health and actually directly, or I guess it's indirectly because through them, are changing your outcomes for health. I mean, mind-blowing research is coming out. Okay, what happens? It changes when you travel. It changes with each meal. It's very kind of, it's a fluid thing. Just like our bodies change so much more than we even think about it. We look the same in the mirror, but so much is going on every day inside. Yeah. So plant-based foods provide fiber, right? You only get fiber from plants. Yeah. Only. There's no fiber in animal products, low fiber in processed foods. Plants have fiber, which act as prebiotics, which make your bacteria happy. So it basically gets rid of pathogenic, disease-forming bacteria.
The prebiotics feed the probiotics.
It's the fuel for the healthy bacteria. Yeah. The good bacteria proliferate when you have a lot of the fiber. So when you're eating all those plants, your microbiome changes to a more health-promoting profile, a ratio of these different types of strains that are actually going to help you in the long run. So when you were changing your diet and going, oh, here's all this fiber, your body was like, whoa, we don't have the capacity yet. Let us regroup. Right. So you were basically killing off the bad bacteria, growing some new ones, building some new. Okay. Like your whole microbiome was shifting. Yeah. Did you notice that it got better with time?
It took a few weeks. And my wife's like, can you text Julieanna and ask her when you're going to start? I was gassy anyways, like the protein powders and stuff. But prior to that, but she's like, oh my God, you just keep going, go in the other room. I said, you wouldn't see me at all. and she's like, we've got this baby in my belly, and you got all these just ripping ass the whole
You're
time.
You're intoxicating our baby.
Yeah. So after a few weeks, yes, it did normalize. So I had the blood work checked.
Yes.
And then, I honestly did started feeling better. And you told me, admittedly, you said, I don't want you to do, protein powders and these bars and stuff.
I still don't want you to do that.
I know you don't. We'll get into that. I know you want me to, but I would train 10 to 15 clients in a day. So for me, it was like I had to do that. And then I would have those like kind of those fake meat things. But for the most part, I was doing a bunch of asparagus and greens and a lot of beans. And I love beans. So I give my results back. And I did a DEXA scan as well, and I lost a little bit of weight. I think muscle tissue was pretty much the same. I think I lost a little bit, but there could have been some water.
There's a reason for that
in the muscle cells.
You want to know the reason for that?
Yes.
We basically, when we lose and when we gain, we lose this little portion. It's always going to be protein. It's all amino. It's going to be you lose everything. You don't just lose fat unless you're like on a weight loss kind of restrict. Sure. There's ways to do that, but you lose everything the same rate that you gain it. Okay. It's like you're losing a little bit of bone, because math. Think about it. Ray says this brilliantly. It's not like you stick a spout and you go on a diet and you put on the spout and just oil drips out. Yeah. Like everything goes. Like all the cells and all the cellular structures that make the fat cells, all of that stuff goes at the same time.
Okay.
So it's very normal. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I was pretty lean and I did feel really good. So my blood work admittedly beforehand was very good.
Of course.
I was working out a lot. I was still having a ton of vegetables, and every now and then I was having the meat sticks or whatever. So yes, I was having those vegan protein bars and shakes, but I was trying when I was at home cooking to do as much as possible. So I'm having these 10 servings of greens a day and 2-3 servings of fruit, which generally was from berries or a grapefruit. Every now and then I threw in a banana.
A banana.
Oh my God. No. Fruit's going to make me
alert the fruit police.
Fat,
yeah.
Right? As Julieanna says, fruit is nature's candy. So then I get the results back. and my hemoglobin A1C had dropped. A marker for diabetes,
which was probably already normal anyway. Yeah, for you.
It was already. I don't know what it was like. 6 or
so what did it go to?
I think it dropped to 4 or 5.
Perfect.
I believe a couple points, and even the doctor is like, "Wow, this is crazy."
Yeah, because eating a high protein diet promotes diabetes. Okay, go on.
All right, so and then from there, like all the other stuff was relatively normal, but then the crazy thing was, so my overall testosterone I don't think had changed that much, but my free testosterone, so the testosterone that's available and ready to use, went up 100%, which is completely counterintuitive to everything that everybody thinks. If I'm eating plants, like I'm not getting enough protein, how am I going to put on muscle tissue?
Where are your man boobs?
Right,
yeah.
I've got some man pecs
right
here.
They didn't grow.
Explain why did my free testosterone go up?
I can't explain that. Yeah. I really can't. I'm not an expert in endocrinology in terms of the hormones. Those hormones, right. I can explain all the insulin and all that stuff that's happening, but that's a good question. I don't know.
It could be something with maybe I was having less inflammatory foods, and
it could be. It could be. That's a good point. It could
wild.
be. Did your exercise, was it this consistent
throughout?
No,
I tried. I tried to, as much as I could run my own experiment on myself. I pretty much kept doing the same workouts. I didn't change something drastically, but that was interesting. So admittedly, after that, I went back to having some animal proteins, but for the most part, for years, I've been 80-90% plants, which was crazy from when I first met you. All right, so why would you not want me to have protein powders and bars and all that sort of stuff?
Because they're processed foods, and like excessive amino acids is one of the reasons you probably, I don't know if I can't wait to hear your interview. I haven't heard it yet with David, but that's what we talked about with David. That's where the intersection of Healthspan diet and longevity and eating a plant-based diet intersects. It's that we're getting this onslaught of amino acids, and the only way we have ever extended Healthspan and longevity in every model organism tested, from yeast and worms to primates ever, is by dietary restriction without malnutrition, specifically essential amino acid restriction.
Okay, so that's huge when you say without malnutrition, because people say calorie is a calorie, and I can just cut calories and I can lose weight. Yes, but then you're going to be malnourished if you're just having candy bars all day long and you went from 1,500 calories to 1,000 calories.
Yeah, right? No, and when you're restricting calories, those calories matter even more. So I eat a very calorie restricted diet since I've been learning about this on purpose, because for Healthspan, because I don't want to age. I want to stay young forever, and I'm going to do everything I can. And so part of that is restricting. So I eat less frequently. I do the time restricted feeding, and I eat usually 1, sometimes 2 meals. So every bite matters, because this is like, I don't have room for extra calories because I want everything to count.
Right.
And that means, eating vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices, and making sure that I'm getting everything very nutritionally dense. I don't do white flour. I don't do white sugar at all. I don't even want that anymore. I try to limit oil. I almost never do oil, maybe as a flavoring, because those are just waste of calories. Same with protein powder. Protein powder, you're getting rid of all this whole intact stuff, and you're dosing yourself. You're flooding yourself with these things that we know. Now, it'll help you look like you. I mean, you already look like you, but if you want, if someone's trying to build, which people, in their 20s and 30s, I understand.
Right.
But there's an interesting thing going on here. Once you're in, like me, once you're in your 40s and 50s, when Mother Nature is quite literally done with you, we don't need to reproduce anymore, things start to shift. And we don't want to go grow anymore, because go grow means cancer, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. And this is where it gets funny. So if you're sitting there, what is your goal? Where are you in life? And it kind of sucks that there's this kind of crossover there. But it does depend on your goals and where you are in life.
Right.
So you could have all the protein powder and you will grow, but you're also going to promote this long-term health damage. And there's a lot of big bodybuilders that do a lot of that stuff, and they die really young of a heart attack. You've heard stories like that.
You hear about that all the time, and professional wrestlers and all sorts of stuff. I mean,
athletes,
I've trained professional wrestlers before, and the stories of, besides the things that often, and I'm not saying they're all doing this, but they're banging their bodies up and they're putting a bunch of muscle on, and then they're living hard lives and traveling all the time, and that could be interesting reason why that's happening. I mean, that's because they're increasing the mTOR response the entire time, right?
There's three pathways. There's mTOR, there's AMPK, and then there's IGF-1, a growth hormone axis. And we go into that in the book. It's probably not cool for right now, but there's all these different pathways by which this is happening. And so And the way to hit those in a best way optimally for Healthspan is to limit to eat less. That's even David said in his book. Just he said, if I could tell you one thing you could do every day to help yourself live longer and better, it's eat less.
Yeah.
Because you want to stress.
David Sinclair's book is called Lifespan, by the way.
Lifespan. Amazing book. Yeah. Highly recommend it.
Carry on.
Okay. Yeah. So eat less. And then stress, like hormesis. So like exercise is stress. But again, like how much?
Right.
Like in the blue zones, they were active. Like Ray always says, the opposite of sedentary isn't exercise. The opposite of sedentary is active. And beating yourself up. I mean, I'm a perfect example. I love to work out. Like I was as obsessed as anybody. Like I love fitness so much. And I ended up with these 2 really severe chronic use injuries that will not go away. And now here I'm in my 40s and it's like, I can't do what I used to do. And it sucks. It sucks. I miss it so much. So there's that too. A lot of people, and I have a lot of clients that are post, intensive exercise and ended up with injuries. So you have to think, you don't like to think when you're in your 20s, what's going to happen in your 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s and all those years. And if we're living to 100, it's a lot longer.
Right.
But, it's hard to think about that. You think you're invincible in your 20s and 30s, and teens.
I know I'm breaking down and I'm 36 years old. So, that's where my shift has changed. Originally I was working out to have abs and all that sort of shit. And then with the birth of my child, like that completely changed where my head was at. And then I started doing all this research. And yes, I still love working out, but I'm working out less and not as. I'm still working out hard, but I'm not working out for an hour and a half. I have 20 minutes. I'll knock that out, or I'll do some intervals, or I'll stress my body, and then maybe I'll do some sort of fast or something. So I'm limiting as much like that mTOR response and doing all this sort of research. And I hope all this stuff is going to be valid because I want to be around and healthy and moving around for my son. That's the thing, and the people I think they miss a little bit. Yeah,
we don't want to end up like what's happening now is that we're living longer, right? But we're living sick for longer. So like, incapacitated, like debilitated, in a wheelchair or in an old age home. I don't know if you've ever been to one of those, but they're just horrifying. And like, way rather, I always tell everyone around me that loves me, just shoot me, please. I don't want to go there. Yeah. So we want, and what David talks about too, is like living really well and then dropping dead at an old age, just like that's the goal, right? That's, then you get the best of everything.
I like that. You live and then you just die.
Yeah, fall asleep and boom.
That's it. Fall asleep and boom.
I mean, part of me finds this really kind of weird irony that I'm reversing cardiovascular disease in all my clients. I've got this really good cholesterol levels and all that. And I'm thinking that's the easiest way to die. People just drop dead of a heart attack. It's like, that's a horrible thing to say because people suffer too. But I've had actually a really, really, one of my best friends passed away recently of cancer. And
I'm sorry.
Like, thank you. And it's kind of like, that's also shifting. Not only me being a mom and you being a dad right now, like realizing that you want to live long and well for your children, but seeing people your age start to go from stuff like that, that just like also makes you motivated.
Yeah, I mean, it
grateful.
is. Yeah, when we see something horrible happen to somebody else or in a family, then we're like, we reassess our lives, which I think is a natural human reaction. But often we forget about that. A week or two goes down the road and something happens, and they're like, oh, we wanted to change our lives, and then I think reassessing that and whether writing that down or thinking about like why you're living for yourself and why you want to live. Like now I exercise for my life, literally, and for my son, because my life doesn't matter as much as his does, but I need to take care of myself and take care of my mental capacity and the depressive stuff and all that sort of shit. Like I've got to be there, and I'm trying to find that happy medium at the same time as being a fitness professional. I need to look a certain way. So
I know,
it's really hard to balance it all.
I know. I mean, I grew up in LA, so I was a dancer, and then I was an actress, then I was a personal trainer, and then I was a dietitian. All 4 of those professions, everyone looks me up and down and decides whether they're going to listen to me or hire me, right? Always. This has been my life on the spotlight. So there's that. But the good news is, I mean, you look perfect, obviously. I always tell you that. But
that's still a self-tanner. That's all that is.
Yeah. No, it's not. Whatever. But the point is that you can do all that stuff that you're doing if you just limit the exercise a little bit and you limit the essential amino acids and like eat the plant-based diet. You will still look like this. Like you're not going to change.
All right. So what are those baselines for people listening? What when you say limit exercise? Do you have any baselines that you guys found that a few days a week of weight training or certain cardio or what? When you tell somebody to do that, what does that look like?
Yeah, I don't quite prescribe exercise, because there is no clear-cut answer really on that right now. I would say it depends. Like, we work with a lot of athletes. We work with a lot of post-athletes that we're trying to, like, we call it a soft landing. We're trying to help them have a soft landing when they're our age. And that would mean taking it down a notch. It sounds like what you're doing is really reasonable. Yeah. Like, instead of running, 20 miles a week, maybe jog once or twice a week and walk and implement yoga, like be more comprehensive with your workouts. That's what I've always said that, though. It's like, balance and not too crazy, not where you're getting injured. I think that's a good way to look at it. Like, I know how I injured myself. I mean, I was 9 months pregnant doing crazy plays with 100 pounds on me. Like, I was doing stupid stuff and I injured myself. Like, that was so dumb and irresponsible and thinking I could just... So moderation, but that's really a stupid word. It doesn't mean anything. So just taking it down a notch, and then how do you feel? Yeah. Are you still feeling good? Like, getting, I have my Apple Watch, and there's all these different, I'm not selling Apple Watch, but everyone that has these devices, it reminds you to stand up. We just interviewed the guy who actually did all the research behind all the fitness app on here. And it's really interesting. So basically the message is stand up more than sit down, move more, and get a little exercise. And if you do all that and close all your circles or get all to all your goals, like the 10,000 steps a day thing, that's fantastic and feasible and not harmful.
Yeah, life is about closing all the circles, Julieanna.
That's right.
Life is a circle. I don't know what the hell movie that was from, but I'm sorry. I'm just random saying things. I mean, one thing that I started doing is I started paying attention to my heart rate variability. So the beats in between your beats and measuring that, and so there's all sorts of different things. There's the Whoop, there's the Oura Ring. The one I wear is the Morpheus. I'm not sponsored by any of them, but if you guys want to sponsor, go ahead. I put that thing on when I was training for the Spartan, and if I check my heart rate variability, it says, "Oh, you're 90% recovered," because I feel great. And then one day I looked at it, it was 40-something% recovered, and I was 3 days out from the Spartan. Like, am I really going to do that much for my body and go for a run and do sprints right now? Because I feel like my heart rate could get higher more. And I feel like when I was walking the steps, I was more out of breath. My body was in a state where it was just in repair. So it was probably leaking creatine kinase and all sorts of different stuff. And I felt like crap that day. And I'm like, you know what? I just took that day off.
Good.
So
you listened to your body.
Before, I literally wouldn't have, because I have 3 days to the Spartan, whatever, and I'm going to... Yeah, it didn't matter. Like, when I ran the race, they have 4 miles in the rain and the mud up a damn mountain. Like, I don't think missing that day, it was probably better for me in the long run.
It absolutely was. And we work with these clients. I have one client who's really young. She's in her 20s, and she's a big time athlete. She's in cycling, and she's traveled the world doing these competitions, and she wanted to lose weight because she was carrying around like 40, 50 extra pounds. Yeah. And so we don't, when you do our lifestyle transformation program, you're not allowed, we have you off of exercise until you finish, because weight loss, exercise actually can conflict with weight loss.
And where is that lifestyle transfer? Where can people find that?
Oh, they can't. They can email me and we could see if you're right for this. But yeah, we don't advertise. It's just usually through word of mouth.
They can email you. What's your email for people to email?
Well, if you go to healthspansolution.com, you can contact us through there. Yeah. And that'll go directly to me and Ray.
Cool. Make sure we got that plug in there. Okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you. Well, no. And actually, we really do limit. We're actually we're almost done with a program that's going to be on automated. But our coaching one-on-one program, Ray is a guy who helped Penn Jillette lose the 100 pounds. Yeah. He wrote a whole book about Cray Ray because it's quite a disruptive method. This guy is a disruptor. This guy, Raymond, he's crazy, amazing. Yeah. So we had this client. She lost her weight. She was like really resistant to, I don't want to not exercise. I have a competition coming up and all. After whatever weeks it took her, she got down, she leaned out totally. Her body looked exactly the same, just smaller, which is what happens, which is kind of surprising after like 5, 6, 12 weeks without exercise. Right. And then she did her first performance, and all of her numbers were better than before.
Really?
Because she was lighter, fitter, and she took a break.
Wow.
That was interesting.
Crazy. Resting your body. I mean...
What a concept.
What a concept. All right, so let's get into it a little bit here. Now, who do you feel like plant-based is for? Do you feel like it's for everybody? Do you feel like some people have some maybe conditions or autoimmune things where they shouldn't be completely plant-based?
I have never seen such a one-size-fits-all type of thing. Yeah. Quite literally. Now I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been teaching plant-based nutrition for 15 years. It'll be this year. And I have seen people reverse things from lifelong eczema and asthma to autoimmune disease, like stop multiple sclerosis, to reversing advanced stage cardiovascular disease, also shown in the science, not just anecdote, reversing type 2 diabetes. We always say results are typical. My clients, this happens all the time.
And most time you see like little thing like these results are not typical on
right.
the bottom of a screen. Okay. They
Exactly.
are typical. Okay.
Exactly. So with us, with this way of eating, typical, it really reverses and improves so many things, reverses your risk for almost every chronic disease that's been studied so far. There's every day there's new research that comes out for your kidneys, for your maybe Alzheimer's. There's a lot of convincing stuff on all. It's like stuff we never thought. So I am open to the idea that there's nothing it can't help. And I've never seen anyone do worse on it when they're doing it the right way.
Okay.
I honestly haven't.
Now, could that be from people? I mean, your standard American diet, right, is horrible and like beige and a bunch of processed
Well, look
crap.
at you.
Yeah, I mean, right.
You didn't go from a standard Western diet. You went from a very healthy diet.
I did not.
Quote unquote.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going devil's advocate here. So
okay.
if people went from having that diet and all of a sudden they started incorporating more like fruits and vegetables in their life, I mean, that's going to make a huge difference there, right?
100%. In fact, if there's one thing you want to start today, it's eat more vegetables and fruits.
Okay.
And then graduate to eating more plant-based meals because like in our book, there's 100 recipes. I always say you could eat infinite tasty combinations of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, mushrooms, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices. So just squeeze them in. And by squeezing more in, like even if you have a meatless meal and then you have a meatless day and then, maybe you end up, this kind of feels good. And, whatever, the more you do it, the better.
So you would just advise people to start incorporating more whole foods.
More plants. More whole plants.
And then from there, you kind of adjust the scale a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, some people like to, okay, so it depends on you, but, when we take our clients, we do a real dramatic entry, like you dive in and that's it. And then your whole palate changes. And actually, Penn Jillette talks really, really eloquently about how he still eats the food he loves. It's just that the food he loves changed because your palate changes. And this is what we see. For some people, it's easier to just like start, eliminating a food group or at the same time incorporating more plant meals.
Right.
So, it's either way, what works for you. But I think it's really effective to just like go for it. And then it's a little painful at first because it's hard to go from seeing that. Like I was on the personal trainer diet for 12 years or more, like chicken breasts, egg whites, and veggies. 18 egg whites a day I ate. Wow. Okay. And, and I was sick. I was miserable, but that's how whatever. That's how a lot of people do it. And so it's like every step helps, but it just, everything helps.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, what about, I'm sure you've probably heard about this stuff. What about like oxalates and lectins and all these things that people that say like these anti-nutrients that are in vegetables? What the hell is that?
Oh, what the hell is that? It's so ridiculous. I mean, the whole thing with lectins it's actually funny because this is this doctor. I don't even want to give him credit, but actually, if you want to hear the best debunking.
I'll say his name. I know where it came from. It's Dr. Stephen Gundry, right?
Yeah.
It came out with the Plant Paradox. Is that the name?
Yeah.
I have not read the book. I'm just...
okay. So if you read the book, you'll say, these things are evil. These lectins are evil. And then if you buy my anti-lectin supplement for $800 a month, you'll be saved. It's that kind of thing. But worse than that, lectins are a thing in beans. Okay, so you need to eat a little bit more to prevent perhaps, just make sure you're getting enough zinc. Not a problem. Okay. Not a problem. Not only that, what did I just tell you about the blue zones? The only food group in common with the longest lived populations were legumes. What are the foods highest in lectins? Legumes. It's so crazy. Dr. Michael Greger from nutritionfacts.org. Everyone should go check out nutritionfacts.org. Okay. I'm giving him a plug because it's like a library like you've never seen of information. And plug in Plant Paradox or Gundry, and he has this great video like just debunking the heck out of it because lectins actually happen to be phytonutrients, like actually have benefits. Yeah. So, and then oxalates. Yeah, okay, so if you have an oxalate stone, which is not a lot of people get an oxalate stone, and not all kidney stones are oxalates.
Yeah, they're saying that kidney stones are from that.
If you have a kidney stone that's oxalate, you may have to limit your oxalate consumption temporarily, but that means
which are like fruits, nuts, seeds.
No, just certain ones. Yeah, there are certain ones. So for instance, a lot of people who don't do green leafy vegetables, which I always say let thy greens be thy medicine. I actually only sign my book in green markers because I'm such a leafy green advocate.
Oh, you're such a nerd.
I'm such a nerd. So anyway, so a lot of people that aren't used to eating a lot of greens, they'll be like, okay, I'm going to incorporate spinach, and they eat spinach every day. Well, spinach are one of the higher oxalate greens. So my answer to that, if you have a problem, you're not going to get it. How many people have you met that have a problem from eating too much spinach and bananas?
Yeah, I mean,
Nobody.
It's pretty like I got out of shape from eating spinach.
Right. Have you heard that? Things you never heard.
That might be things I've never heard.
Yeah. Hashtag never heard.
I've heard a lot of shit, and this is coming from the guy who coined the phrase fitness fecal matter.
What?
Fitness fecal matter.
What's that?
So I came up with not doctor. I'm sure he wants to be a doctor. Ebenezer Samuel, the fitness director of Men's Health, he was talking about social media and how the crap out there. I'm like, it's kind of like fitness fecal matter.
I like that. Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so
not to worry. Yeah. So if you eat a variety of plants and you mix it up, so don't just eat spinach. Eat romaine lettuce and cabbage and kale and broccoli and green beans and beet green. There's so many different greens. Chard, those, it's like just mix it up, and that's not a problem.
Is there any specific way that you should be cooked, like raw versus cooked, like something you absorb different nutrients whether it's raw or cooked, right?
Good question. Yes. So you can go exclusively raw. It's very hard, and I don't recommend it because it's so challenging, and most people can't stick to it. And there's a lot of pitfalls where people end up eating a lot of oils because they can't get full on a lot of fruits and vegetables, and so it can work if you're really hardcore. Like we have two friends, Robbie and Cyrus, who do Mastering Diabetes, and they have type 1 diabetes, and they eat massive amounts of fruit. Like they're fruit, we call them fruitopians or fruitarians, and so they do it. They can master it. I have tried. I just don't like fruit enough to do raw. But that said, there are a lot of nutrients that you need to have raw. So because some of them will be destroyed in the cooking process. Fine. But there's also some foods that are beneficial when they're cooked, like phytonutrients, like carotenoids. Like if you cook when you compare a tomato to tomato sauce, like a cooked tomato sauce, like sofrito, like where your wife was raised, like a long cooked tomato where they cook it all day and they use this beautiful sauce, you're going to have way more protection against prostate cancer and eye health, all that stuff that you get from carotenoids. You're going to get it better when it's cooked. Yeah. So there's benefits to both. So I say, and you could eat more calories easier. So if you want to have whole grains cooked, it's hard. You can't really eat raw grains. So there's benefits of both. So I advocate for at least half your diet coming from raw foods, and then and then the rest is fine. But you can go up to 75, 80. You can go 100% raw. It's just a little more planning involved.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Now, people that, are opposed to being plant-based, like what are some people saying? Like when you get questions like, I shouldn't go plant-based, like what are some of these questions that you kind of wish that would go away?
Well, after 15 years, every single day, someone asks me where I get my protein from. And it's like ridiculous. I mean, it's not a problem. If you are eating whole foods, you're going to get plenty of protein. And like I said, again, just because something is good doesn't mean more is better. Right. So I would say that the biggest, let me sum it up in one sentence of what I think is the big problem and people's biggest concern. For 15 years, I've been defending the adequacy, the nutrient adequacy of a plant-based diet. You can get your B12, your iron. Here's where you get this. Here's where you get that. I've been defending it for 15 years. But because of what I've learned in the last 3 years about healthspan and longevity, I believe what it looks like in the research is that one of the reasons a plant-based diet is so healthy is because of what it's naturally limited and restricted in. Therefore, I stopped defending it. Right. You can get everything. It doesn't matter. You're actually getting the right amounts of things. You're getting it's not too much iron. It's the right iron. Right. You're not getting too much protein. You're getting just enough protein.
That makes sense. So, I mean, and it's also about what the people are not eating, which is huge as well. By like if you're incorporating a bunch of, plants and fruits and vegetables that you weren't incorporating beforehand, you're cutting out all that other crap. Like that's huge. I mean, to your point before to start adding that into your diet and whatever that looks like, whether it's meatless Monday or flesh-free Friday or whatever.
Ooh,
flesh-free Friday.
Friday.
I probably didn't come up with that. I don't know, but I like that.
I like that.
Flesh-free Friday.
I'm going to use that, Joey. I'll give you credit.
you can give me credit even if somebody else put it out.
I've not heard that. I've heard Friday.
All right, cool.
Taco Tuesday is a good thing.
All right. So we're almost done here. I know that you have places to be, and your daughter probably doesn't want to hang out in the lobby for the rest of the day. But
she's being a sport. Thank you, Maya.
So when you're around maybe a group of kids, 4 or 5 year old kids, how would you explain? Yeah, we're going to talk about teenagers. How would you explain what you do and maybe how they should eat?
No one's ever asked me that question, Joey. Well, I have to do, when my kids were in kindergarten and young, I was like, I should volunteer and, because I'm always working, so I should at least show up to the school. And I would go in there and I brought my big Vitamix blender and I brought a rainbow of fruits and vegetables and made a smoothie. And I talked about all the nutrients in the different colors because every color represents a different array of very important nutrition. I tell adults too, I think everyone should eat a rainbow every day, at least one. So I think starting with that.
But not Lucky Charms.
Except for Lucky Charms, Skittles, and M&Ms. Yeah, those don't count,
cool.
right? Yeah,
Okay,
nice
cool.
try. Yeah. I've heard that one before.
Right.
Eating a rainbow from Whole Foods.
Okay.
So thinking it from a beautiful perspective, also teaching them how to garden or look at, go to the farms. Because I grew up in LA. I'm a city girl. Like I'm born and raised, hardcore city girl. I really have no connection to how food was grown. And I'm just now exploring it in the last few years.
Yeah.
And I think for those kids, they should also go to a farm and see and pick fruit and taste it off the vine and taste a warm tomato out of the sun. That stuff really kind of connects you to where it comes from. It's kind of a beautiful, kind of young. It's so funny because when I was vegan, and I had my kids, and it was like, I should show them what happens to the animals. I was like, oh my God, I stopped myself. Thank God, I stopped myself right at the beginning. Like I never did that, but I did take them to farm sanctuaries and show them the animals and like just so that because again, we grew up. I had a dog when they were little, but like they didn't know what cows were and all that because we're like in the city, the heart of the city. So I would say from a nutrition perspective, which again, I don't want to go down the ethics route at all because that's not my thing. It would be introducing color and getting them involved. In fact, me and Maya, my little Maya, we did a video. If you Google it, it's still out there on Kids Cook Mondays. And if you Google my name and Kids Cook Mondays, me and Maya made a pasta dish. And she was so cute and tiny. And she's like, pasta. We made like pasta with broccoli. And it was so cute because it was like talking to like getting kids involved in the kitchen, which you're going to start to be able to do with your son. Yeah. We'll get them to kind of maybe have some, not that Maya really likes to cook yet. It didn't really work effectively with my daughter, but a lot of people do. Like if they have that experience and they feel comfortable, because my mom, I love my mom, but man, she gets stressed out about cooking and I never learned how to cook from her. Yeah. I'm a self-taught cook. And I wish that I learned how to cook. Like I know people that just really love, like Ray, he's in the kitchen and it was really easy to do, easy, relatively speaking, to do 100 recipes in 4 weeks because he just goes in there and he's like, oh, it needs a little sour, it needs a little us and blah, 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 and he just comes up with this insanely delicious meal. I'm not that comfortable yet and I'm still learning, but those are some of my tips, I would say.
I like that. Yeah, actually, it's funny because, having a kid, people... everybody tells you how to raise a kid. Even like, I'm like, do you have kids? No, my brother's sister's best friend's nephew has 3 of them, and I one time changed their diaper. Okay, look, shut the hell up then. Until you're in it. Like, and we didn't. My son didn't have sweets until his first birthday, and he took a bite of the cake and he put it down because we started feeding him fruits and vegetables right away, and Maria tried to make the most of food herself, and if we had to, then we bought like the organic baby jar, whatever. But his palate has completely changed. He doesn't want sweet. Like you're depriving him. Like what?
Oh my gosh!
I'm not depriving him of food and nutrients and love. How about I give him love and food and health, and don't sit him in front of a TV for hours a day. And if he's in front of a TV, we're interacting with him. Here's the ABCs. Here's what's happening.
Yeah.
So
Joey, it's a gift. It's a gift.
It's a huge gift.
And not only that, there will be decades of opportunities for him to get that opportunity to eat the crap because wait till he starts school. And this was horrifying for me as a dietitian. I wrote blog posts, angry, scathing mom blog posts about the shit they feed your children. First of all, like the 2 most vulnerable populations in the world are children and sick people. And hospitals and schools feed their children hellish, despicable food. And then you have a sport, you'll appreciate it as an athlete, is they do these, after your practice and the parents bring chips and
Rice Krispie treats
soda,
and all sorts of crap.
Like, why? And candy bars. Like, really, dude? So they're going to have plenty of times to ruin their taste buds later.
I think they'll be fine. I understand, like, if he goes to a friend's house or somebody, he's probably going to eat something that he doesn't want to, but I want him to have, like, it's fine. Few and far between, totally fine. But I want our house to be the place where people come and they can have all these, like, wow, these things actually taste delicious and they're good for me and they make me feel good. All right, we're almost done here. I have, let's see, what are quick 5 things people can do for their health right now?
Eat more fruits and vegetables.
Number 1, okay.
Eat more plants.
Number 2, okay.
Oh, there's so much to choose from. Okay. I'm going to say this. It's not one sentence. It's okay. We all eat about 8 to 10 recipes a week. We rotate between 8 to 10 recipes. We eat the same breakfast every day, most the same lunch, 1 or 2 things. Most people eat about 8 to 10 recipes. I challenge you, and the best thing you could do for yourself is find 8 to 10 whole food plant-based recipes that you love and rotate those in.
Okay. So we got that was kind of a lot right there. So we'll call that 5.
Wait, I'm not done.
Oh, you're not done. All right, that's 3.
I have 2 more that are different.
You got 2 more. Go
okay,
ahead.
that actually goes in eat plants, so I really have 3 more left
3
technically,
more.
but I'll give you 2 more.
I'll give you 6. Go ahead.
Okay, so I would say implement mild cold stress, which is absolute torture. That's what I learned from Ray. Like cold contrast showers that are like you scream his name. He loves having women scream his name in the showers. That's what he tells everyone.
I do that, but I'm gonna start screaming Ray's name in the shower.
Yeah,
now.
you should. He'll love that.
Ray,
you asshole. We love you, Ray. Yeah, but try mild cold stress. Contrast showers are incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Just being cold more often. It sucks. It's miserable. But that's what David Sinclair talks about too.
Yeah.
They wrote a paper, Metabolic Winter Hypothesis, that everyone should read. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Because if you're a little uncomfortable, your body has this hormesis that helps with Healthspan longevity, weight loss, all of that. So Ray did a TED talk on that too, which is that's his expertise in mild cold stress.
Check that one out,
yeah, it's a good TED talk. Okay. Very, very compelling. Okay, move more.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5.
All right, we'll call.
And rest and sleep and stress and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Julieanna, plant-based eating, Healthspan Solution, fad or future?
Future.
I knew you were going to say that.
Of course,
okay,
Joey.
Awesome. Where can people find you?
Okay, they could find me at healthspansolution.com. And I'm blogging a little less, but I'm also at plantbaseddietitian.com.
Okay. And then your Instagram, Julieanna Hever.
Julieanna Hever.
Okay.
And then on Facebook, if you're still on Facebook, Plant-Based Dietitian. That's actually where my big following is, and I love Facebook, and we did our Facebook watch there. Yeah. So that's Plant-Based Dietitian, and then on Twitter, I'm Plant Dietitian.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Joey Thurman. This is another episode of the Fad or Future Podcast. Don't be a fatty. Yeah, everybody cracks up when I say that. FADDY. Merchandise is available on fadorfuture.com. How about a plug for myself? And you can find me at Joey Thurman Fit. Be nice. Don't be a jerk. Take care. Do something for your health today. Cheers. What do you think? Plant-based? Fad or future? Let me know in your reviews because I know you're reviewing the show. Next week, can you imagine being addicted to drugs, getting kicked out of the armed forces, and then becoming a full-on vegan and over 10 times Ironman? Next week is pretty crazy. I have John Joseph, author of multiple books. The first one was Meat is for Pussies. Yeah, I laugh every time I say that. He also is the author of The PMA Effect, and this guy is no censors whatsoever. So I know you're going to tune in next week. Make sure to put the kids' earmuffs on because this is one hell of an episode. Make sure to subscribe, review, and share the episodes. I truly appreciate it. Fad or future, don't be a fatty.